Hello everyone, my name is Deepika Rani. I have completed my graduation from Regional Institute of Education, which is in Bhopal, which comes under NCRT. Currently, I am working as a senior faculty, bio faculty in Orchids International School. As a continuation of our previous year board questions series, we are going to start with a new chapter of biology today, which is how do organisms reproduce. In this, we are going to see MCQs, we are going to see 1 marker, 2 marker and 3 marker questions. As you know, this chapter is for 3 marks. As you know, this chapter is of 3 marks in boards. So there is no 4 marker or 5 marker into this. Starting with our MCQs. The first question is, which was there in 2022, and it is over the Leishmania. The question is, choose the correct order of the stages of binary fission in Leishmania. In this, you can see they have given you a few pictures and they have given you the division into that, where you have to see how do they divide. First of all, the binary division. As you know, what is binary division? Binary division is when a parent cell divides into 2 daughter cells. This is what binary fission is known as. And in binary fission, what happens? The parent cell, at first, the cytoplasm of the parent cell, it elongates, and then the nucleus, it starts dividing. So if we take this theory of ours and we see this picture, we can see that first one is this, as you can see. First one is this diagram, and then you can see the cytoplasm is already elongated, but the nucleus is getting divided into this. So this can be our second part. And then you can see nucleus is properly divided, third one, and then here the cytoplasm is dividing, and in the end you can see the whole organism is divided. So if we go according to this diagram, we can see that this is our option which is right. The first one, third one, then the second one, then fifth one and the fourth one. So the answer for your first question is B part. Moving to our next question. Coming to our next question, which is over the bread mold, also known as, in biology we call it as rhizopus. So rhizopus you have commonly seen in a home or the school going students, as we are doing the board series, obviously you are a school going student. So sometimes what happens when your mom gives you tiffin and on weekends you forget to take it out. So obviously it is not washed. So on Monday when you take it out over the bread or over your chapatis and all, you can see a fungus growing over it, right? We commonly call it as rhizopus. And when you see it under a microscope, it somewhat look like that, right? So this is the diagram of rhizopus, which you can see under the microscope. These are the parts of rhizopus which you have to label under this question. So here you can see a bulb-like structure. Here you can see a bulb-like structure, and also you can see some filaments or roots-like structure here. So what you have to do now, you have to just remember the parts you have studied. So this bulb-like structures which has spores under it, which spreads over the other part of the bread, and then this is how it reproduces. The spores, they spread and they reproduce. The name of this particular part is sporangium. You call it as sporangium. There are two things, sporangia, and one more thing which is sporangiophore. So this part, the filament is known as sporangiophore, but this thing is known as sporangium. This part, the root-like structures, they are known as hyphae. So the answer for your second question is hyphae and the sporangium. Moving to your next question, which is a descriptive one. The question is, list 4 advantages of vegetative propagation, right? Under this question, what happens? You have to write few points. You can see answer here. You can write few points where you have to describe about the vegetative reproduction. Now, while writing the answers, you have to keep few points in your mind that if it is a 2-marker question, they will be comprising of 4 points. Each point, 0.5 marks, which I have given here. Also, you have to underline the keywords because it's biology. It's not your physics or chemistry where you have to write about the formulas and all. So what you have to do in biology, you have to underline the keywords, which is a good way to write the answer or show what you remember or what you have written. Now, advantages of vegetative reproduction or propagation. First of all, what is this thing? what is actually vegetative propagation? So vegetative propagation is a type of propagation where, or a reproduction where, an organism or an plant reproduces through the vegetative parts of it. For example, what are vegetative parts now? You might have seen this common example of aloe vera around you, right? Aloe vera plants. Now, aloe vera plants are never in one number. You will sow one, and within time, within 6 months, it will start growing into different parts, different aloe veras. So one aloe vera will reproduce with many aloe veras. So in this case, the aloe vera plant is reproducing through the vegetative part of it. With time, it will grow, and this vegetative part will start giving different aloe veras around it. This is what vegetative propagation is known as. Now, moving to our next slide, the answers of it, where they have given you a whole descriptive question, descriptive answer over it. First point is, when vegetative propagation happens, the offspring which is coming next is completely identical to the parent plant. Because it is a type of asexual reproduction, there is no fusion of gametes happening. And if there is no fusion of gametes happening, that means no particular mutation or no particular changes are happening. So in this case, if it is happening with the parent plant parts, then the offspring will be completely identical. Next part, the same thing, common sense. If they are having asexual reproduction, there is no change happening, that means all the characteristics of the parent plant will be preserved. Here, preservation or preserved plant characters. So this is the key point you can write and underline in your answer. Moving to next point, the plant which do not produce viable seeds. Now what is viable seeds? You might have seen many fruits, many veggies which don't have any seeds into it. Now how will you reproduce? Because when you are growing, your parents have told that the plants will be growing from the seeds. Now when you see any plant which don't have seed, you will know how it will be growing. So in that case, what we do, we take a particular part of the plant, we cut it off, we sow into the soil, and then it starts growing into another plant. So if they don't have seeds, we can reproduce it through a vegetative reproduction. And the last part, it is easier, quicker and cheaper way of reproducing a plant. Now if I grow a plant from a seed, it will take a lot of time to grow. Whereas if we grow a plant from a stem, it might take some time, but not as much as the seed. So the 4 points are the identical offspring, the characters will be preserved, if they don't have seeds, still we can reproduce it, and the last one, it is easier, quicker and cheaper way of reproducing a plant. Next question of ours, differentiate between binary fission and multiple fission. Now, as we have seen in our first descriptive question, we have to write about the binary fission into that. The extension of that question, we have to differentiate between binary and the multiple fission. And because it is a differentiation question, you don't have to write it into the points like this, like you write your theory. What you have to do, you have to make table, and then in that table you have to write the differences. And because it is a 2-marker question, what you have to do now, you have to write at least 4 points to get 2 marks, 0.5 marks for each. Along with that, you can write few examples or you can draw the diagram as well in your exam. Seeing the answer of it, binary fission and multiple fission. First of all, what do you understand by the word fission? Fission is when one thing divides into 2 things. That is what fission is. So in the fission, if it is binary, binary means 2. One thing will be divided into 2 things. Multiple fission means one thing will be divided into multiple things. So binary fission, where one organism will be divided into 2 daughter cells. Multiple fission, where one organism will be divided into many daughter cells. Now coming to this word daughter cell, why it is known as daughter cell? Because the cells will be dividing. That's why it is daughter cell. The points, division of parent cell into 2 daughter cell, binary fission. Cytoplasm elongates, obviously. When the fission happens, first the cytoplasm will elongate. Then the nucleus will start breaking, it will get separated, and then it will separate into two different individuals. Here you can see a diagram of amoeba. You know that amoeba, we study about amoeba that it is unicellular organism, it has no shape, and you can find it anywhere. So how does they reproduce? So one amoeba of any shape, with time when they have to divide, the cell will elongate, the nucleus will start dividing. The point where nucleus is divided, this cell will divide into two, and now they will become into two daughter cells. This is binary fission. The multiple fission is complete opposite of it. In multiple fission, the process is same, but instead of just two daughter cells, we will have many daughter cells. And the example for your multiple fission is Plasmodium. Plasmodium is an organism which gives you a disease known as malaria. And how do they reproduce? And how do you get malaria in, how do you get the symptoms in 2 to 3 days? You don't usually get symptom in 1 day of getting infected from the Plasmodium disease or the bacteria. So what happens in Plasmodium? First of all, they will enter inside your body. And they will keep on dividing. The multiple fission will happen. They will keep on dividing, and with time, when they are mature enough, the cell is full of that protozoa, it will break out. And all these Plasmodium will spread over the body. And with time, all the blood cells in your body will be infected by Plasmodium. And after 2 to 3 days, you will have the symptoms of severe cold, severe fever, and different things. So, coming back to our topic again, the differentiation between binary fission and multiple fission. Binary organism will divide into two daughter cells. Multiple fission, an organism will be divided into many daughter cells. Example for your binary fission is amoeba. Example for your multiple fission is Plasmodium. Moving to our next question. Here the question is draw a neat, now because it's a biology, you have to draw diagrams. And if your question is more than 3 marks, yes, you have to draw the diagram. Here they have asked you to draw the diagram into this question. They have asked you to draw a diagram directly. They have not asked any theory and all. Now, the question is draw a neat diagram showing fertilization in a flower, where you have to show a pollen tube, male germ cell, female germ cell into it. And then you have to explain shortly about the process of fertilization in flower. Then you will write about what will happen to a ovary and what will happen to a ovule when the flower is fertilized. To see our answer, here we have a slide. Now, answer for your first question, where you have to show the pollen grain, where you have to show the different parts and different things. So, in first question, you know what is this part of the flower known as, right? This is the female reproductive part of the flower, where you can see the pollen grains. And you can see male gamete, you can see pollen tube germination and different thing. Now, this is the easiest diagram in your book. You can draw it anytime in 2 or 3 minutes. Now, the pollen grain, obviously, where is pollen grain germinated? The anther of the flower. When agents are there like birds, winds, water and different thing, this pollen grain will come over the stigma of the flower, and then if the pollen grain is of same species of a flower, the pollen grain will be accepted by the stigma, and then the pollen grain will start germinating a pollen tube which will reach to the female reproductive part of the flower. Then a male gamete will be released. This male gamete will reach here, fuse with female reproductive part, and then a fruit will be formed. What they have asked you in your previous question is, you have to show pollen tube, male germ cell and female germ cell. So this is your pollen tube. This is your pollen tube, the long tube-like structure. This is pollen grain, male germ cell and female germ cell. And whenever you draw a diagram, you have to label it as well. You just don't have to draw the diagram and leave it on the teacher to label it for you. You have to draw it. Moving to the next part of the question, which was you have to explain the process of fertilization in a flower, and you have to write about what happens in ovary and what happens to ovary and ovule when it is fertilized. Now this is the explanation of fertilization in a plant, in a flower, where the pollen grains will be accepted by the stigma, then it will start germinating, the pollen grains, the male germ cell will be released, it will reach to ovary where the female germ cell are there, the fusion will happen, zygote will form, and then embryo will form. This is the explanation how it is done. Now what is the fate of ovary, what is the fate of ovule? So your ovary, it will develop into a fruit, the fruit you eat. And the ovule, it convert into seeds, which we don't eat, obviously. Moving to our next question. Next question of yours is, what is puberty? Moving to the humans. The first part was about unicellular organisms and plants. Now moving to humans, what is puberty? The A part of the question. B part of question is, describe in brief the function of the following parts in the human male reproductive system. First thing is testis, seminal vesicles, vas deferens, urethra. And the third part of this question is, why are testes located outside the abdominal cavity? Now, the answers, first of all, what is puberty? All of you know that you are in your teenagers. And when you were in 7th standard, 8th standard, 9th standard, you might have studied this term as adolescence and puberty. Now, what is adolescence and what is puberty? Adolescence is the time phase, whole teenager of yours, teenage age of yours. Whereas puberty is the change which is happening, like the increase of your height. When you were in 6th standard, you were very small. When you are in 8th standard, your height, it surges. Or when you meet with your cousin after a long time, you might see that there are few changes, bodily changes, right? The shoulder will be broadened, their facial features will be changed. So these are the changes which happens when the person is in puberty. Now how to explain the answer? How to write the answer? It is like this. Puberty, the keyword of your answer, is the process of physical changes, also the emotional changes, hormonal changes in the body through which a child body matures and turn into an adult body and become capable of sexual reproduction. Now there is no need, if you want to say that what is the need of puberty or what is it, then the need of puberty is that the organism needs to reproduce. This is the main motto of the reproduction, where an organisms have to reproduce, they have to give birth. The offspring will be produced. So in puberty, an organism, they get mature enough, they develop to produce a new organism, right? So puberty, the keyword of your, then you have to underline this word as well while writing the answer, the physical changes. You can add this 2 more points, that hormonal changes are there or physical changes are there, this emotional changes are there, you can write. And then you have to underline this word, sexual reproduction. All right. Next part of your question, where you have to write the importance or the functions of testis, seminal vesicle, vas deferens, urethra. Now, the function of testis. The function of testis, there are 2 functions. Functions are like to produce sperm, which is also known as male germ cell, which helps in the reproduction. And another function is to produce testosterone, which is a hormone, and this hormone helps in the development of secondary sexual characters in male. Now, second thing, seminal vesicles, they have some fluid-like things into it, which will be secreted to the sperm, where it will mix up, it will give nutrition, it will give fluidity to the sperm, and then it will be converted into semen. Vas deferens, it is connected with the testis, and then it transfers the semen or sperm to the penis. Then urethra, urethra, and then in the end you have the next question. The answers are like this. Puberty we have discussed. Testes, underlining the keywords into your answer. Male reproductive system, sperm and testosterone. Seminal vesicle, seminal fluid, provides fluidity and nutrition to the sperm. Next, vas deferens. It's a tube-like structure which transports sperm to epididymis or urethra. And then urethra, it is a common organ which helps in the removal or the transportation or the passage of urine and semen to pass out of the male reproductive body. And the third question, why testis is located outside of the male reproductive system? Because testis has a function to produce sperm, and sperm production needs low temperature from the body to produce a healthy amount of sperm or healthy quality of sperm. Now, your body temperature, the testis, it needs 2 degree less temperature from your body to produce sperm. That's why it is located outside of the male reproductive system. Next question. Name and explain the mode of asexual reproduction observed in Hydra. Next question. What is vegetative propagation? List 2 advantages of using this technique. Now, what is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is where only one parent is involved, there is no fusion of gametes which is happening, right? So, what happens in Hydra? What is Hydra? Hydra is an organism which you can find into the water bodies, right? And how do they actually reproduce? There is for example, this is a Hydra, right? Hydra. There will be one outgrowth which will be formed over it. And this outgrowth, with time it will start getting matured into another Hydra, right? And when it is mature enough, this part of the Hydra will be separated from the parent body and it will start its own individual life. This is how asexual reproduction in Hydra happens. First of all, it will start having an outgrowth over it. That outgrowth will survive over the parent Hydra or parent body for some time, and with time, when it is matured enough, it will be detached or removed from the parent body and start its own life. Next question of yours, what is vegetative propagation? This question we have seen before also, but still, what is vegetative propagation? It is a type of reproduction where we grow plants through the vegetative parts of a parent plant, right? It can be done artificially as well, it can be done naturally as well. Now, when it is naturally, you are not going to help it, it happens on your own. Whereas if it is artificial, there is a human touch into it. We do help plants to reproduce. For example, cutting the stem, sowing into some other part of the land, and then it will start growing. Answers for it, how you have to write in your exam. Hydra can reproduce asexually by budding. You have to mention this word while writing your answer, that they reproduce by budding, right? Budding is a small outgrowth over the Hydra body. Then a small explanation, because it is a 3-marker question, it is not that big, you don't have to invest that much time while writing the answer in 2 or 3 pages. You just have to write what is happening, to be precise. So, what is happening here now? During budding, an outgrowth, a keyword, underline it, is formed over the parent body called bud, which develops into an individual and detached, keyword again, detached from the parent body when it is matured enough. Matured enough means when they can survive on their own. They don't have to take nutrition from the parent body, or they don't have to take protection from the parent body. So, when they are mature enough, then only it will be detached from the parent and it will start living their independent life. Next part of your question, The definition of vegetative propagation, it is a process in which any vegetative part of the plant like root, stem or leaves give rise to a new plant, right? For example, in leaves there is a common example which you might have heard while studying bryophyllum. What happens in bryophyllum? The leaves will start having small buds at the edge of it, and with time this bud will fall down over the ground, and with a proper environment and proper nutrition they will start growing into a new plant, right? So again, definition for vegetative propagation is given. The keywords are vegetative part of the plant. Then you can underline the word root, stem and leaves, and then this thing, appropriate condition. For example, your plant has been grown. It has been, the buds have been sown into the, or fallen on the ground. If the soil is not nutrient rich, or if it is not having water in an adequate amount, it will not grow. So this term, the appropriate condition, you have to write while writing your answer. Advantages of vegetative propagation. In a short amount of time, you can get lot of plants, and then it can reproduce the seedless plant as well. Moving to next question. Write the changes that occur in a flower once the fertilization has taken place. Now again, this word will repeat again and again in your this chapter. Fertilization, the fusion of male and female gamete, and what they are asking, what happens with the flower when fertilization has happened. Now why this question is formed? You have seen the structure of flower, they have beautiful petals, they have beautiful smell, they have good smell into it. Now what is the use of it then? The smell of the flowers, the color of the petals, they help in attracting the insects for the pollination. If pollination has been done, the pollen grains are from the same species, then the pollen tube will start forming and then the fusion will happen. After fusion, after fusion, there will be some changes into the flower. Those changes they have asked you here. Now, if the fertilization has happened, there's no use of petals into it, there's no use of smell into it. It will just utilize the energy or the food which is made by the plant. So, if there is no use, that will be removed out of the plant, right? So, in this case, what happens? The petals of your flower, they start falling down. The petals, the sepals, they fall down. Then the ovary of your plant, the ovary of your flower, they convert into fruit. The ovules will convert into seed, and the outer layer of the zygote, they will enclose the seed. They will be there inside the seed for the production of the next generation. So 4 changes which happens after fertilization is the flower, it withers. That means the sepals and the petals, they dry up and they fall down over the soil. Next, the ovary converts into fruit, the ovule convert into seed, and then the zygote forms the embryo which is enclosed in the seed, right? Enclosed in the seed as in you have seen that the seeds have a hard layer over it. What they are protecting? They are protecting the zygote, the embryo which is there for the germination of your next generation. Ninth question. We have done the first part of the question previously in our questions. Still we will see it. They have asked you where are testes located in human male reproductive system and why. State 2 functions of the testes. So the testes in male reproductive system, they are located outside of the male reproductive system. Why? Because they need low temperature for the production of healthy sperm. The function, 2 functions of it, as I have discussed, the production of sperm and the production of a male sex hormone known as testosterone. You will be writing and underlining these 2 things. Next part of the question, in a human female, one of the ovaries is releases an egg every month. State the changes that take place. So in what happens in female reproductive system, that there are two ovaries present, and out of each ovary one of the ovum is released every month. So what happens if that ovum is released, and that ovum, commonly we call it as egg. So that ovum is not fertilized, and what will happen if it is fertilized, right? The second question of yours. Third part of the same question is, what are the surgical method in male and female to prevent pregnancy, right? Seeing the answers to it, I'll show you one diagram. Yeah, you can see a female reproductive system here. In female reproductive system, you can see that there are two ovaries at the each side of the reproductive system, right? These two. Out of these two ovaries, one of the ovum will be released every month from any of the side. These ovum will pass through the fallopian tube, will reach into the uterus, and then if it is fertilized, then fine, it will remain, otherwise it will be removed out of the female body. Now the question of yours, what happens if it is fertilized? So first of all, the fertilization of the ovum takes place into fallopian tube. After fertilization, zygote will be formed, and then it will be transferred to the uterus, where we have thick lining of blood and mucus for the implantation of the zygote, or you can call it as embryo. So if it is fertilized, what will happen? First thing, it will be implanted into the uterine lining, and the second thing, menstrual cycle stops. Next part was, what will happen if the egg is not fertilized? That means there is no fusion of female gamete, and if it is not happening, the egg will be released or reach to the uterus. If it is not fertilized, it will be removed out of the female body along with the blood lining and the mucus which is formed. So going back to our slide, going back to our question, if the egg is fertilized, then it will get implanted in the uterine lining, and then if it is not fertilized, it will be released out of the female body and the menstruation will happen. Next question, the surgical method for male and female gametes to stop pregnancy. So in this thing, they are asking you about the contraceptive methods, where if a couple doesn't want to have the kids, if they don't want to have offspring, what methods they can use, where it is a surgical way. Surgical way means there will be some surgical things which will be happening inside the body of a person. In this thing, we have two things. First, which happens in male reproductive system. Second, which happens in female reproductive system. So in male reproductive system, we have a surgery or the cutting of vas deferens. In that term will be known as vasectomy. Vas deferens will be cut, and they will be the vas deferens of the male reproductive system will be cut. It will be tied so that there will be no transfer of sperm. In females, we have tubectomy. Why tubectomy and why vasectomy? Vasectomy because the vas deferens are cut. Similarly, tubectomy because fallopian tube is cut. Now, similarly, like the vas deferens, if it is cut, obviously the sperm will not be transferred. So, tubectomy, if fallopian tube is cut, obviously the ovum will not be transferred to the uterus and it will not be fertilized. And if it is not fertilized, then embryo will not form. If embryo will not form, the fetus will not form, and then the pregnancy will not happen. The answer which you have to write or you have to take care of, the points which you have to take care of is, a pair of testes is located outside of the male reproductive system in a structure known as scrotum. Testis is covered with a protective layer of a skin known as scrotum for the production of healthy sperm. The keyword which you have to underline. The main function of the testis, production of sperm and the production of testosterone, male sex hormone, which has a function to develop the secondary sexual characteristics in male. Then B part of the question, what will happen to ovum if it is fertilized and not fertilized? First part, if it is fertilized, it will get implanted where? Uterus, and it will develop into an embryo. Menstrual cycle will stop for next 9 months. What will happen if it is not fertilized? The unfertilized egg, it will break off, and then it will be removed out of the female reproductive system along with the blood lining which is formed. Blood lining with mucus, blood vessels and different things which are formed every month for the enrichment of the growing embryo. But if there is no fertilization only, then it will be released out of, it is removed, and every month there is a blood lining which is formed. Third part of the question, surgical methods, as we have seen, vasectomy in male and tubectomy in female. Tenth question. 10th question of yours is, again they are asking you about the vegetative propagation. First in a case of a leaf or a plant, second in a case of a organism. They have asked you what will happen if leaves of bryophyllum fall on the soil. Now bryophyllum is a plant. In that plant, the leaves helps in the vegetative propagation. The buds will be produced at the edge of the plant, at the edge of the leaves. With time, these buds will fall over the soil and they'll start growing into another plant. So if the leaves of the bryophyllum fall on the soil, it will start growing into another plant of a bryophyllum with a good environment or adequate conditions. Next part, planaria is cut into many pieces. Now you know that planaria is an organism which propagates or which reproduces when it is fragmented, right? They don't have sexual reproduction, they have asexual mode of reproduction where they divide or they breaks down into pieces, and each of the piece they will regenerate, right? For example, this is your planaria. If this planaria is cut off into 2 to 3 pieces like this, one piece is this, then this and this. With time, each of the pieces they will regenerate. So 3 pieces of the planaria, they will regrow into 3 planarias, 3 different planarias. So in this case, if planaria is cut into many pieces, each of the piece will regenerate into individual planaria. Next question. Sporangia of Rhizopus on maturation liberates spores. Sporangia has lot of spores into it. Mention the mode of reproduction in each of the above cases, the below case. Here above cases, they have asked you about this as well, they have asked you about this as well. So while writing the answer, you have to write about the budding, you have to write about the regeneration, and in sporangia you have to write about the spores. So Rhizopus, as we have seen a previous question over it, Rhizopus commonly known as bread mold. It spread through the asexual reproduction where spores will be spread and then they will be reproduced. So as you can see the structure, this we have marked and labeled. Here you can see a bulb-like structures which has lot of spores into it. When it is mature enough, this part of the sporangia will be burst and then the spores, as you can see, it will spread to the nearby areas, and then they will start spreading. With time it will grow into another rhizopus, right? You might have seen the bread. If it is having mold at one part of the bread, with time, within 1 or 2 days, you can see that whole bread is infected with the rhizopus. It has a very fast method of reproducing. Next question of ours, where they have asked you about the placenta and they have asked you about why the uterine lining is thickened. First question, placenta is extremely, they are asking you about the reasons. You have to give reasons why placenta is extremely essential for the fetal development. Why it is there, what is the need? First of all, whatever things you have inside your body, it has some function to do. There is nothing which you have which has no function at all. So if it is happening, if it is there, placenta, especially during pregnancy, there will be an important function for it. So placenta it is a temporary tissue, or you can say it is a temporary disc-like structure which is there into the uterus of the mother. It is formed only if the fertilization has been happened. Placenta, again starting with the answer, placenta, it is a disc-like structure made up of tissues which is there for the development, proper development of the growing fetus. Why it is extremely essential? So it is essential because it transfer oxygen and nutrient to the fetus, growing fetus. And the second thing, it helps in the removal of waste. Now, if an organism is having nutrients, some waste will be produced. How the waste will be removed out of fetus? They are not having the process of excretion, they are not having the process of ingestion, but still they are surviving, they are having nutrition. So what happens? The fetus, they are connected with one cord-like structure known as umbilical cord. This umbilical cord is connected with the disc-like structure known as placenta. So this placenta, what does it do? They take the nutrients from the mother blood. It will transfer that nutrient to the baby. And if the baby is having some nutrients, some waste will be produced which needs to be excreted out. So same passage again, the waste will be passed on to the placenta with the help of umbilical cord, and then the mother body will absorb it, and then it will be removed out of the body. So the function of placenta is first to give nutrient and oxygen to the growing fetus, and second for the removal of waste. It has different functions different functions as well, but these two are the important one. Next, uterine lining becomes thick and spongy after fertilization. So before fertilization also the blood lining is formed, but after fertilization it thickens more. Why? Because they need to implant the embryo into it. And if the embryo will be implanted, they will be needing some nutrients. So all these blood lining, they will join, they will be there so that they can give more and more nutrient to the growing fetus. Also, because it is thick, it is spongy, it is there for the protection of the growing fetus as well. So it provides nutrition, it provides protection to the next generation of the fetus. Answers, how you have to write? The placenta is a disc-like structure. Keyword, disc-like structure made up of tissues, mother tissue and the growing fetus tissue, which helps in the development of embryo. Embryo, the keyword, development by providing nutrients, oxygen from the mother blood, as well as removal of the waste from the fetus. Two important function of the fetus, two important function of the placenta. The structure also you can write disc-like structures. There are villi present towards the fetus so that they can absorb more and more nutrients. Now villi, you know, you might have studied in other chapter of your same class that they are there so that the surface area will increase. If the surface area will increase, more and more nutrients will be absorbed. So as we have discussed the second part where they are asking you about the thickening of the uterine lining. So in this thing, what I have told before, they are there so that they will get implanted properly, and then also it provides protection to the growing embryo. It's thick, it's spongy. If it is spongy, it is there for the protection purpose of the growing embryo. Moving to your next question. So the next question of yours, the same question which we have done in the previous slide, they are asking about the vegetative propagation. They are asking you about the advantages of it, and then they have given you few examples. They are asking you in all these four which are having the vegetative reproduction. Now this question and the previous question, it was somewhat similar. Why this question again? Because this question carries more mark. Maybe this will come for 3 mark, that will come for 2 mark. So more content you have to add up. Now what content you can add? First of all, you have to write the definition. You have to write the definition of vegetative reproduction. The same thing, where the plants will be grown from the vegetative part of the plant, and then it will detach themselves from the parent body and they will start their individual life. This is what vegetative reproduction is. The advantages, 4 advantages you have to write. The seedless plant will be reproduced, then it is a faster way to get the plant. For example, if the banana is growing from the seed, there are few bananas which have seeds. If it is growing from the seed, it will take maybe 2 years, 3 years to grow and then give the fruit. Whereas if you are growing it from the stem, it will hardly take 1 year, and then the next year you will get the fruit out of it. So it is one of the faster way to get your plant. Then it is helpful in preserving the genes. Now because it is asexual reproduction, there is no fusion of gametes, right? And if it is not there, the genes which was there in the parent, it will be continued or will be passed down to the next generation. Then it's a cost effective and easily produced. Now if something is growing from the seed, there will be some environmental conditions, right? According to that environment, the plant will depend, the seed will depend. It will, maybe if the environment is not good, the seed will not grow properly. The plant will, even though the plant will grow, it will dry up, it will die up because of the harsh summer conditions or the winter conditions and different things like that. So in vegetative reproduction, now plant is already grown, right? They just need to have some amount of time so that the roots will be reproduced, right? Once the roots are there, the plants will start growing. Roots will take hardly 1 to 2 months to grow, then hardly 3 to 4 months to settle down. So it's in 6 months you'll get a plant, right? And you know that there are farmers who are not that rich. Still, they have lot of plants and all. So what they do, they take these kind of plants, they take the vegetative part and then they grow it. For example, the potato of yours, you have never seen the seed into potato, right? In the case of potato, you might have seen that if the potato is not used for a long time, there's something greenish growing over it, right? With time, this greenish part, it will grow more, right? This part of the potato will be known as bud or the eye of it. Now, why are we doing this thing? Because if you cut this part of the bud with some part of the potato, sow it into the soil, it will with time grow into the plant of potato, and then this plant of potato will give you lot of potatoes like this. So it's a cost effective and it is easily produced. So from one potato, if this potato is covered with lot of eyes, for example, there are 5 or 6 eyes or buds over this potato, what will happen, you will cut each of the eye with some amount of potato, you'll sow it into the soil. One part of one plant will give rise or give rise to many potatoes. So yes, this part of yours is justified, it's cost effective and easily produced. And the last part of the question, where they are asking you about the examples, they have given you 4 examples. Out of that, banana and jasmine are grown through the vegetative reproduction. Banana through stems and jasmine also through stems. In the case of jasmine, what happens? For example, this is a plant of jasmine. It is having a lot of flowers over it. With time, the stems will bend and it will go over the soil, right? This bent part of the plant of the jasmine, they will start growing into another jasmine, and when it is mature enough, it will again detach itself from the parent plant and it will start growing on its own. It's an individual plant now. So, banana and jasmines are grown by this process of vegetative reproduction. Next question, explain multiple fission, give examples. Now, in the previous slides, we have done one thing, which was differentiation between binary fission and multiple fission, right? In that, I have explained you about what is fission. When an organism, it divides into many daughter cells or 2 daughter cells. Binary again in 2, multiple in many. So what you have to do, because we have seen this question before, what you have to do, you have to write the answer for it and then you have to give one example. You can take 2 or 3 minutes to write the answer, and then on the next slide you can see the answer which I have written, and then you can see what all things are important which you have to include in your answer. Now again, because it's a biology, it needs some keywords. Also, you don't have to explain your theory like history. You have to be to the point. Answer for this thing is the keywords: multiple fission, asexual reproduction, one of the most important keywords, many daughter cells, single parent. Example, Plasmodium, which causes malaria. How does this multiple fission is happening? Mother cell is there, it will start dividing into many daughter cells, and this daughter cell, when it is mature enough, this part of the parent body will burst and all these daughter cells will come out and they'll start spreading into the body of the organism. Next question. Define pollination, explain the different types of pollination. List 2 agents of pollination. How does suitable pollination lead to fertilization? Now, if you see this question, it is given as a one question only, but in that question there are many subparts which are not divided. So, first part is define pollination. Second part, explain the different types of pollination. Third part, list 2 agents of pollination. And the last part is how does suitable pollination leads to fertilization. So in this thing we have 4 parts. First, pollination, a simplest thing which you might have studied in your previous classes. When the pollen grains, they fly over, go over the stigma and they will have the process of fertilization. Different types of fertilization. Now fertilization, they are pollination, sorry, it's pollination. Now pollination, they are furthermore classified into 2 parts, that is self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is if the pollination, the transfer of pollen grains, they are happening in the same flower. For example, this is the anther and here we have the stigma. Now the pollen grains which are there over the anther, it will fly over and go over the stigma and then it will start germinating, right. If it is happening in a same flower, it will be self-pollination. But if I have two flowers, right? And from this flower to this flower, the pollination is happening. The pollen grains are flying and growing over the stigma of this flower. Then it will be a cross-pollination. So pollination are furthermore classified into two types, that is self-pollination and a cross-pollination. Self-pollination when it is happening in the same flower or a same plant. Cross-pollination when it is happening on two different plants. Also, this point to remember that the pollination happens with the same species of a flower. It's not like the rose pollen grains will start germinating over jasmine. It's not like that. The rose pollen grains will germinate on the rose plant only. Third part, list two agents of pollination. Now, agents of pollination are those organisms or those things which can be biotic, abiotic, which is helping in the process of pollination. For example, the wind. The wind is there, it will start with the help of wind, the pollen grains, it will start flowing. Then there is a water, there are birds, there are animals, there are insects, honeybees and different small organisms which usually go on the flower for the nectar purpose, right? And all these small insects, butterflies, bees, they all help in the process of pollination. Seeing the answer for it. Pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the flower belonging to the same flower, same plant, different plant of same species obviously. It can happen naturally and artificially. Naturally it happens on its own, artificially humans help to do it. Pollination two types, self-pollination, cross-pollination. Self happening on the same flower, cross-pollination, different flower and different plant. Next part, the agent, wind and insects. That's why you might have seen where we cultivate or where we grow honeybees, there are a lot of flowers growing around. So these pollen bees, the honeybees, they go to that field, they take out the nectar, also help in the pollination process. Example of insect pollination, rose and flower. Example of wind pollination, we have grasses. Suitable pollination, the question was, how does suitable pollination need to fertilization? Now, what is suitable pollination here? Suitable pollination means if it is happening properly or not, if the pollen grains are from the same species or not, are they of different species, or if they have over the stigma, did they stick or not, is the pollen tube growing or not, the pollen tube is pollen grain is having male germ cell or not. So how does all these factors they help in the or leads to fertilization? How you can frame your answer is, suitable formation pollination leads to same species of pollen grain being deposited on the stigma, leading to the successful pollen tube development and fertilization. Now, you know that there are the wind, many pollen grains are flying over, right? Now, how the plant will find it out that it's from the same species? So, your stigma, the stigma has this capability. First of all, they have the sticky things over the stigma, which hold up the pollen grains, and when it is of same species, they find it out it is of a same species, they will help in the germination of it. For example, this is a rose plant, right? Rose plant. We have jasmine pollen grain here. The stigma will try to find out if it is the same species or not. If it is not, then it will be removed out from the plant. So these all factors, they play a very important role in the process of pollination. Next question, the diagram. One diagram based question will come from any of the chapter of biology, but this is the question, this is the diagram which is important, which might come in your board exam. The question is, they have asked you to draw a label diagram of female reproductive system and male reproductive system. Here there is a mistake. It will be male reproductive system. Now, the diagrams. If they have asked you to label the diagrams, first of all, what you will do? You will do it on the right hand side of it, and then you will explain its parts. Because it is a diagram based question, you don't have to write the story. If they have asked you for the explanation, give 1 or 2 key points of it and then move on to the next part. We'll see how we have done the question here. The question was to draw the female reproductive system. They have drawn it and they have labeled everything. But you don't have to label everything. You have to label ovary, you have to label femore, you have to label fallopian tube, uterus, cervix and vagina. These are the few things which you have to label in your exam. Then you have to write about the key points. Ovary, 2 functions of it. It has 2 functions: to produce ovum and to produce female sex hormone, which is estrogen and progesterone. These both hormones, they help in the development of secondary sexual characteristics in female, as well as they help during the pregnancy and menstrual cycle. Fallopian tube, they are the tube-like structures which helps in the transfer of the ovum. 2 functions again: transfer of ovum and fertilization. It is a site of fertilization where fertilization is happening, fusion of male and female gametes are there. Third, uterus. It is a site where fertilized egg gets implanted. After implantation, embryo is formed and with time it will be developed into fetus. Cervix, the opening of the uterus, and the vagina, the birth canal from where the baby is delivered. So this is the thing which you have to write if they have asked you about the female reproductive system. These are the main parts, you can say, that which is there into the female reproductive system. There are many, but these are the main parts. Same we have to do with the male reproductive system. Male reproductive system, again, it has few important things like testis, epididymis, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, prostate gland and urethra. These are the few things which are important in male reproductive system, which you have to label, as well as you have to write 1 or 2 key points of it. First thing, testis. Previous slides we have done this: production of sperm, production of testosterone. Epididymis, it stores sperm. Now, testis just has a function to produce sperm. The body part which is storing sperm is epididymis. They ask you, generally this thing is asked in MCQs, like where is storage of sperm? It is in epididymis, not in testis. Then seminal vesicle and prostate gland, they release their secretions which provides fluidity to the sperm for the easy movement, for the survival purpose. Then urethra, it carries sperm during ejaculation, and penis we have for transfer of sperm into a female reproductive system. There is one more function for urethra. Along with sperm, the removal of urine is also through urethra. Next question. Last question, it was there into 2022. Usually they ask this question in 1 or 2 marker. They ask you this question in 2 mark or 3 mark question, where they ask you about the contraceptive methods. Or what they can do is, they can give you a situation based question or a case study where they will be giving you a para about the contraceptive methods. They can give you a para over growing population, and they will be asking you about the contraceptive methods. Here they have asked you what are the different contraceptive methods, and then you have to write the advantages of it, right? There are 4 types of contraceptive methods we use, and there are few advantages to you, like there are few advantages of the to use all these things. The contraceptive methods which we have is, there are 4 which you have to write while writing your answer. The key terms again, the barrier method, oral contraceptive, intrauterine devices and permanent methods. Permanent methods, if you remember, we have discussed in your previous slide that where the fallopian tube is cut and tied off and the vas deferens is cut and tied off. So in this thing permanent, as we have seen, vasectomy and tubectomy. Vasic in male, tubectomy in female. Barrier methods, where barrier is formed. In this thing, there is a prevention of sperm from reaching to the ovum. The fusion will be stopped. Common methods, condoms. Oral contraceptives, we have pills. In this thing, the pills are used twice, like 2 times we can use it. First to stop the ovulation, and then if there is a if there is this ovulation which has happened and there is unprotected intercourse which has happened, then the person can take oral contraceptive to prevent the fusion. Now, this method is not usually advised every time because this method has a capability to stop or to do some changes with the hormone balance. So, if the oral contraceptive will be taken again, the hormonal change will happen. And the last one, intrauterine devices. In this thing, copper T is placed inside the cervix of the female, where the copper helps in the degeneration of sperm. So if the sperm will be killed, there will be no fusion which will happen. So these are the 4 ways of contraceptive methods: barrier methods, oral contraceptive, intrauterine devices and permanent methods. Advantages. Now you know that there we have a lot of diseases around us. So there is one disease known as sexually transmitted diseases. In this thing, the disease, the pathogen, the bacteria, the virus will be transferred from one person to another person with a sexual contact. So one of these diseases, HIV/AIDS. In this thing, with time the person's immunity it degrades. Also we don't have any medicine for it as of now. So first is protection against STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and then it helps in the prevention of pregnancies. Not all the couples they plan for the kids. So this method they help in the they help couples to plan their next generations when they want to have the kids. So these are the 2 advantages for the of the contraceptive methods. So here we are done with all our 15 questions. Now, few suggestions for your board exams. As you know, your science is divided into 3 parts: physics, chemistry and biology. Out of all these things, bio consists of 30 marks. So what you can do, because it is of 30 marks, it gives you a lot of weightage to score more and more marks. There are 5 chapters in biology. You can, according to the chapter weightage, what you can do, you can divide your time, you can see what questions are important, and then you can invest your time accordingly. Now, while writing the answers, again the few important things, write the keywords, underline it, draw the diagrams, label it, and then this is what you have to do for your exams. Thank you. Have a nice day.